In this lecture, we will discuss some of the arithmetic operations we can do in Visual Basic.
Let's take a look at some of the main arithmetic operators that we're going to be using in our Visual Basic programs. Most of these you have seen before, but it's important to note how to actually use them in Visual Basic because there are a couple that are different from other languages such as C++ and Java. So we have our standard addition, and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that we would use the plus sign to add two numbers together. Multiplication is also pretty straightforward. We would use the star, which if you look on your keyboard would be Shift 8, which I believe is the same in other languages as well. Now, what about division? We're first going to talk about integer division because in Visual Basic we can actually distinguish two different types of division. So with integer division, the idea is that you take two numbers and the quotient is going to be some integer. So for example, if I do 7 and divide it by 2, well, normally that gives you 3.5, but this division is going to actually chop off the decimal place and give you just 3. So the way that's done in Visual Basic is we're going to use the backslash. Now this is the key right above your enter key. The backslash is right above the enter key on your keyboard. But this is to say that we're going to divide two numbers, but we only want the integer portion of the quotient. Now, the next operator we're going to take a look at is exponentiation. So how we do exponents. Now, the way we do it in Visual Basic is we actually use the caret symbol. So this is Shift 6 on your keyboard. Other languages use this symbol very differently. It actually does some stuff with bit manipulation if you're using it in C and C++. I think Java does something very similar. In fact, in those languages, if you wanted to do exponentiation, you would have to use something like a PAL method or some type of squaring type method or function. But in Visual Basic, you can just use the caret symbol to do that. For subtraction, it's straightforward. It's just your typical dash to subtract two numbers. And then we have our standard division where we just divide two numbers and we get whatever the quotient is and no decimal portions are chopped off or anything. And that would be the forward slash. This is the slash that you're familiar with. So in this case, if we did 7 divided by 2 using this slash, we would get 3.5 and not 3. And then of course we have the remainder operator. So if you remember in other languages, there is a way to get the remainder. Like in Java, for example, you use the percent sign. Well, in Visual Basic, we actually use the word mod. So we don't use a symbol, but we just use the word mod with n capitalized, and that would allow us to get the remainder of dividing two numbers. Now, there is one more operator I want to mention. It's not an arithmetic operator, but it is one that is worth mentioning, and this involves string concatenation. So whenever we're printing statements, we may want to print like a string, and then maybe a variable, then another string, kind of like in Java where you would have in your print statement, you would have your string of quotes, then a plus sign, and then maybe a value. And that plus sign in there was string concatenation. Well, there is an operator for string concatenation in Visual Basic, but it's a different operator. It's actually using the AND symbol. So that, or the ampersand, if that's actually the technical term. But this is what you would use if you want to concatenate strings, or if you want to concatenate a string with a variable or some value.
Let's go ahead and do a couple of examples of these arithmetic operators. And we'll actually write some code to actually do these operations so you can see what would be the result. Now, for all these, what we'll do is just have a message box appear and have it display the actual values. Nothing too fancy, no buttons, no text boxes, nothing like that. So we need to go into the code view of our program. And I already have the project here opened up. You would go and I would suggest create a project and follow along. If you need to, pause the video until you have the project open up and then resume. But what we're going to do is inside our main sub here is we're just going to add a couple message box.show methods. So we're going to do message box.show. And let's actually just copy this a couple times. Yeah. We need to add some stuff in here. I know. So all we gotta do now is let's just do some of the operators. Let's say, for example, we would do something like 23 plus 49. So we start with the string 23 plus 49. equals, and then we can use the ampersand. Remember, that's our concatenation operator. And then we can actually put in 23 plus 49. So sure enough, this will compute, or at least output 23 plus 49 equals whatever 23 plus 49 is. So now, we'll do the next one. Let's say we do 23 divided by 5. So we'll do 23 divided by 5 equals, and then ampersand 23 divided by 5. There we go. All right. So now let's do the integer division. So the way we do that is 23. We use the other slash, and then ampersand 23 slash 5. And then let's do an example of the modulus operator. So let's do 23 mod 5. So we do 23 mod 5. And then let's do one with exponents. So maybe like 5 to the third power. Let's do that. 5 to the third power equals, and do 5, and then the caret 3. All right, we can do a couple more. Let's see here. Let's do 23 minus 49. Let's just do them all. Why not? 23 minus 49. And then let's do 23 times 5. There we go. 23 times 5. That's pretty good. I think that covers all of them. Yep, that looks like all of them are covered. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. So we see that 23 plus 49 is 72. 23 divided by 5 is 4.6. 23 divided by 5 using integer division is going to be 4. We see that 25 mod 5 is going to be 3. We see 5 to the third power is 125. 23 minus 49 is negative 26. And then 23 times 5 is 115. So sure enough, all those operators appear to work.